Are you looking to improve your golf game in 2025? Look no further than Golf by Gun. Golf by Gun specializes in individual lessons, small group sessions for 2 to 3 people, and even corporate events to enhance your networking skills on the green. In addition, couples golf lessons are a perfect way to bond with your partner while mastering your swings together. Here's an exclusive offer for our listeners. If you mention Chiefs Central, you will get $10 off your first lesson. That's right, $10 off your first lesson. Take your game to new heights and enjoy the sport you love even more. Follow Golf by Gun on Instagram and Facebook for tips and updates, or reach out via email at golfbygun@gmail.com. See you on the course.
It's almost the new year already. Can you believe that?
2024, where'd that go?
It's came and went really quickly. I mean, it feels
Well,
like yesterday was the start of the WHL season back in September, and it feels
I was
like I
going to say
said,
September through now is definitely flown by.
like I said, it feels like that was yesterday.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And then December just went by in a flash.
Yeah, no kidding. I feel like, a couple days ago I was just handing out Halloween candy, and now all of a sudden tomorrow's the last day of 2024, and
Yeah, and we're not having any candy, by the way. Sorry.
that's okay. I don't need any candy. Lord knows I don't need any
I,
more of
I
that.
am making us some appetizers and snacks for the Chiefs New Year's Eve game in Tri-Cities, though.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I can't wait for that for sure.
we'll watch here on the big screen. We haven't watched the game on the big screen yet this year at my place, so that'll be good.
On the old projector.
Yep.
Hopefully they can pick up a win against Tri-City. They've been having some struggles against them this year.
Yeah, I haven't played them in a while, so we'll see how it goes.
Tri-City went on that big like 12-game winning streak, and
Yeah, we'll see how.
I think
Have they played since the break?
yeah, I think so. I think they
Do
played
they?
one game, but or that I know that Portland beat them, but
Because we talked about them probably wishing that the season wasn't going to come to an end.
I know, and honestly, the same with the Chiefs. I mean, we had that 10-game winning streak there pushing toward the end of break,
Yeah,
and then obviously that got broken up second to last game, and it ended up going into the break losing two straight. But we're missing a couple of key guys with Catton and Sarkinov off at World Juniors and making a pretty good name for themselves, both of them.
how about Sarkinoff today? In
Pretty
that,
impressive.
that was
Sark's, Kazakhstan is obviously a not super skilled team that's, going to be making any sort of run in the tournament, but
Mhm.
him being one of the only like I don't know, draft eligible. I mean, I guess they're all technically draft eligible, but only one, ranked by Central Scouting. They
Mhm.
have Kazakhstan's goaltender plays in the BCHL, and I know he is drafted
Oh, does he?
by the Senators actually where they're playing. So, um, but Sarky looks pretty good. I know he sat out the first game for whatever reason. I don't know why he didn't play in that one, but he played in their last two games where they pretty much got blown out. I think it was by Czechia, and then what a game today against
He, he
Slovakia.
he played so good until he couldn't play anymore.
Yeah, he definitely made himself known out there.
Yeah,
Picked up Kazakhstan's second goal coming down the right side and just sniped it. What a beautiful snipe that was.
yeah.
And then yeah, third period, little post whistle scrum. Sarkis, I mean, he was pretty physical all game.
He was.
I swear to God, every time I looked over, they're showing a replay of some hit that he made
Yeah.
on a Slovakian player. And yeah, I think it was like 4 minutes left in the third period, and they're trailing 4-2. And it's just kind of a generic post whistle scrum in front of the net. And
Which, to be fair, he didn't initiate it either. He was kind of the
no,
recipient of it all.
Yeah, he kind of the guy kept running his mouth, so
Yeah.
Sarky turned around and went back at him and gave him a nice little cross stick to the chin. Which I'm gonna be completely honest, yeah, it's a penalty, and
It was.
IAHF rules are so much
Yeah.
different than major junior or
It was a 2 minute
North
penalty. It was
American.
not a 5 minute major in the game of
Not
conduct.
even close.
No.
But and he was pretty pissed going off the ice too. I mean, they followed him with the camera, showed him going to the locker room and just banged his fist on the glass. Like he was
Yeah.
not happy about it, and uh rightfully so. I mean, it was a penalty nonetheless for sure, but it didn't seem all that seemed to do was fire up Kazakhstan though, because
Yeah.
they came back and scored two shorthanded breakaway goals on that 5 minute major penalty kill, tied the game to go into overtime with Slovakia. Unfortunately, ended up losing, but really, really fun game to watch. I
It
think
was.
that I if we're going to talk a little bit about World Juniors, I think that those games with like the lesser known teams and like the
Hmm.
lesser known hockey countries like Latvia, Kazakhstan, Germany, I think those games when they play each other, those are fun games to watch.
Oh, they are. They're very competitive. You learn a lot. You hear some players that you haven't heard before, and there's a lot of passion in those games.
Slovakia, Kazakhstan today, and then did you watch any of the Latvia Germany game too?
I did. That was a great game too. I thought it was going to come down 2-2, and the next thing you know, it was 3-2. Then it was 3-3, and then
Yeah, so it's
Germany
like
pulls their goaltender because they got to win and
in
outright.
regulation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah,
crazy.
I was out at the casino today, so I didn't watch much of that game, but I saw like the clip of toward the end of the game where
Hmm.
it's tied 2-2 with a couple minutes left, and Germany pulled the goalie because they had to win that regulation, gave up the empty netter right away, and then came down and scored again,
Yeah,
and then ended up going to overtime, and
Latvia
they
won.
Latvia won. So also Latvia. I mean, what a story.
Yeah,
I mean, beating Canada and their goalie making 60 some saves in that game, and
yeah.
then beating Canada for the first time ever in the tournament.
No, that was great.
And now they're in the quarterfinals for the first
Exactly.
time ever. What really, really cool stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I was at the Chiefs game on Saturday night with or Friday night with TC, and we were watching the first period. I didn't watch any of the first period of the Chiefs game because I was sitting on my phone watching Canada and Latvia because it was such a
Such
tight
a good
game
game.
and just so
Yeah,
much crazy shit happened. And then it went all the way to like the eighth and ninth round of the shootout, and Latvia ends up picking up a win.
yeah.
Um, I Canada's been struggling in the tournament. I'd say one of the only bright spots is their goaltending and
Hmm.
Berkeley Catton.
Catton, he has not scored, but boy, he has rang so many shots off the post. He's shooting a lot. He sets up players so well for them to shoot and score. He's looked really, really solid.
And we kind of expected that.
Yeah,
We watch him every night
yeah,
all season and everything too. So we know what to expect from him. And I I almost feel like he was kind of a guy that even in the draft, I felt like a lot of teams kind of brushed him off as like,
yes,
kind of a guy that's not really going to be making any sort of impact. But like Seattle obviously saw something in him with the eighth overall selection,
yeah.
and he's having himself a pretty good year with the Chiefs too.
For
And then,
yeah,
he's centering the second line with Canada with Gavin McKenna, and who's obviously going to be the number one pick in two
that's got
years.
to be fun for him.
And yeah, those two they gel well together. And
Yeah,
you hear Gord Miller and those guys and all the analysts on TSN talking about Catton just nonstop during
yeah,
breaks in play and everything too, talking about how good he is. And um, I think he's making a name for himself too in this tournament.
yeah.
And
He is.
I think that he puts the puck in the back of the net once. It's good to open the floodgates, and I
Yeah,
think Canada really needs that right now because
they do. They have not
Canada
their lowest goal total going into the ever.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, obviously there's so much skill on that team they have guys that are, playing in the AHL this year on their team and everything
Yeah,
too. Like I said, I think the only bright spot for Canada is Berkeley Catton and then Carter George, their
yeah.
goaltender, who's perfect through the first
Well,
two games that he's played.
we were texting back and forth yesterday during that game. There's just too many guys playing individually on that team. They're not playing as a team.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you put the team all stars together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's like
and
the,
Catton's an
the
exception to that. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, Catton just he's so calm when he has the puck on his stick, and he
Yeah,
he he can do pretty much whatever he wants and anytime he wants. And One thing that I've really noticed a lot this year, especially, is his ability to skate from left to right and then cut back in on the right side and then
Hmm.
quickly flip the puck underneath the defender's stick
Yeah,
who's right on him and then just snap it. That is some of the like cleanest but like nonchalant way of
hmm,
getting into the front of the net, and he does it so well.
yeah,
And his shot from right there, I mean, I think it was his first shift with Canada in the actual tournament this year, had a rush like that, and he just
hmm,
ripped a perfect shot, just got stopped by Finland's goalie. But
yeah.
um, yeah, he's on the second line right now, and he's on the first power play unit as well for Canada too. So it's cool to see just him being able to play with these high level players. And I think that's again, like we talked about last week, it's just going to make him a better player in the long run
Hmm.
too.
Oh, I agree.
But yeah, so fun stuff. Next game tomorrow night, USA versus Canada.
And the relegation game for Kazakhstan and Switzerland.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe they'll get back in.
maybe who knows? But that's yeah, it's going to be some good games. I think there's 4 games tomorrow, so
Yeah,
going to be some good games to watch tomorrow. I'm hoping that I can get done with work early tomorrow and get a head start on my extra day off and maybe get a day and a half,
there you
but
go.
and be able to watch some more hockey and then come up and watch the Chiefs kick the shit out of Tri-Cities,
There
right?
you go. I like it.
I hope so. But 2 games since our last episode last week.
Yeah,
Home and home with Wenatchee coming out of Christmas
coming out
break.
of Christmas break.
First games of the second half. Friday night back at the arena. Overall, Chiefs did not look good. They
No.
definitely were rusty, and it's what we were a little bit kind of worried about toward the end of the
Hmm.
first half, where they're playing hot, they're riding hot, and going into a 10-day break or whatever it was
Hmm.
too. I mean, that's hard when you're rolling. It's hard to take that break and get back into it right
Yeah,
away. So obviously they had some heavy legs. I'm sure guys had just gotten back into town the last couple of days or day before that maybe, and
probably. Yeah.
uh, just not a great effort overall, but they did end up picking up the win, backstopped by Dawson Cowan,
Thank
who
gosh.
he clearly didn't take any time off.
No.
Um, Boiler was doing an interview with him post game on the radio, and he said that he got a little bit of a shorter winter break because he just decided to come back and stay on the rink so he can stay in shape and stuff too. So, uh, he that's a
He's
good guy to have
he's
back
dialed
there.
in the year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's dialed in, and he knows that he's the guy, and he wants to be a leader. I mean, even as a
Hmm.
goaltender, he's definitely a leader, and you can just tell
You love to see that.
based off his play and just how he is with the locker room and everything. But um, yeah, like I said, I didn't watch too much of the first period in person because I was watching the Canada game on my phone.
That was crazy.
Um, Jaden Schwartz just scored again for the Kraken too. He's hot.
I'm watching Gonzaga.
Ah. But yeah, no, it's scoreless after the first period, and then second period that pass that Owen Shetler made right there crossed to
Yes.
Cohen Harris down in the far
How good
circle.
was that?
What a I looked at TC after we were scoring and said like I mean his vision to make that play
Yes.
and there was a scramble net front that had happened minute before that, and the Chiefs had consistent puck pressure or
Hmm.
pressure in the zone for about the next minute and a half until the goal was scored, and the crowd was buzzing, and you could tell that the guys were kind of feeding off it a little bit. And Shetler made that pass, and once hit that puck went in the back of the net, it was pretty damn loud in there. It was a pretty big pop for that goal, and that seemed to kind of get the boys going a little bit more. And then taking a couple of unnecessary penalties again, which has kind of been a theme the last handful of games for whatever
Hmm.
reason. And Kenta Isegai, their sniper for Wenatchee, leading goal scorer, fired one in past Cow and it couldn't see anything through the screen. So at that point, it's a 1-1 game going into the second intermission. The Chiefs were getting outshot. I mean, not too bad. They're getting outshot by 5 going into the third period. But like I said, Dawson Cowan kind of backstopping us in that game.
Yeah. Going back
Uh,
to the Harris goal, because I watched it online,
mhm.
um, from the camera angle, when I first saw it, I thought they got it and it went off the goalie's pads to Harris. And then
Mhm.
when they showed up from a different angle and I realized it was actually just a straight pass to him, I was blown away.
That was a great feed. I mean,
Yeah.
there's like I said, the Chiefs were really moving the puck well in the offensive zone. Like they were moving it around. Guys were making crisp, clean tape to tape passes. And then, when you're moving your feet, you're gonna have these lanes opening up
Yeah.
with Wenatchee guys trying to follow you and everything too. And the a perfect lane opened right up kitty
Yeah.
corner there to the net.
Like I said, I was surprised it was a direct pass until I saw the replay.
And Cohen Harris, I'll tell you, the last two games he has
He
looked
played good.
great. He has
Yeah.
played very, very well the last few games. I think that,
He's
you
excited
know,
to be out there.
yeah, definitely. And I think having, like we talked about with, a couple of our forwards being gone at World Juniors or injured, and him getting to play on the third line with Coco and
Mm-hmm.
Preston or whoever, Harrington, it's really beneficial for him because I think Cohen Harris, in all honesty, I think he could play top line minutes for
Oh,
us
me
right
too.
now. I mean, with the way that kid hustles, it's what we talked about earlier. He reminds me of like a Chase Berthollet type
Yeah.
player,
He's a go-getter.
go getter, quick guy's got wheels, and
Yeah.
he's smart and he sees the ice well. And I think that that's a guy that teams are going to have to watch out for
Yeah.
here in the
Like,
coming years. But
can you imagine him and Preston and Catton on the same line with their speed?
holy cow, yeah, talk about the wheel line.
Yeah.
Mathis Preston had a really, really good weekend too.
Yeah.
Um, but going into the third period on Friday night, another little kind of strange play. The Chiefs were on the power play, and Coco Armstrong down on the wall just kind of turned and blindly threw it toward the net, and it got deflected. And Samuel Rembo was right there, and he
Mm-hmm.
actually, looking at it, watching it in real time, I thought that it was going to get called back. 'Cause I thought maybe it like hit off his glove or his arm or something.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of went like this, but no. Looking at the replay from like the behind the net angle, it hit his stick. It
Oh,
hit
did
his
it? I
stick.
thought it looked like it hit his chest up here to me.
No, because he had his stick like this,
Mm,
and he like went like this, and it hit like the shaft of the stick right there, and just went
nice.
right past Hauser, and that ended up being the eventual game winner. The Wenatchee had a pretty strong push with the goalie pulled late in the
Mm-hmm.
third period. Dawson Cowan comes away with fuck, I don't know, like 5 or 6 just huge saves in the last 2 minutes with the goalie being pulled. Like I said, the Chiefs were not crisp. They weren't looking like they were looking like they were still kind of sleeping out there. But Cowan backstopped us to that 2-1 win and breaked up that 2 game losing streak we had going into break. So at that point, still undefeated against Wenatchee on the year,
That's a pretty good.
4-0.
Got to
And
drive down
then,
and knock our nuts.
oh, no kidding. No kidding. Well, and then, played them again down in Wenatchee Saturday night. Great start.
What a start to the game.
Great start to the game. I mean, a minute 30 in, that pass that Preston made to Harrington was
Yes.
just beautiful. I mean, he had eyes in the back of his head on that
Mm-hmm.
play for sure. And Harrington, what a shot too. I think that's a guy that we've been talking about a lot lately is how Harrington's been playing. He has stepped up his game since Catton's been
Mm-hmm.
gone, and you can tell that he's confident now
Yeah.
too.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and I really like that line that they had with he switched up Lauer switched up the lines a little bit on Saturday night. It was Preston, Harrington, and oh my God, I'm drawing a complete blank on who that left winger was, but or the center was. I think it was Poppy actually. I think Papanicus was centering that line, but um those guys were gelling in that first period. That
Yeah.
whatever,
Good.
and I texted you after the second goal, and I said like those guys need to stay together all
Yeah.
year. I want to see Harrington and Preston together the
Me
rest of
too.
the year because that was some of the most like skillful passing I've seen from
Mm-hmm.
16, 17-year-olds in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, really impressive stuff. That first goal, that backhand pass from Preston hit him right in the tape, and then Preston picks up another assist on our second goal on the power play,
Mm-hmm.
and then right back again 30 seconds later, Harrington making a beautiful dish from behind the net, just hustling his ass off, and gave it to Preston out front, who made a really nice forehand to backhand
Yeah.
move and tucked it in the post.
That was a nice tuck.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Preston had himself a game, goal and 2 assists.
Reminded me of a
Uh,
little Braden Point action in top of the three.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. uh Mathis Preston continues to impress all of us. I think he's really, really just an unbelievable player for especially being so young.
Yeah.
Um, that's who it was. It was Coco Armstrong was centering that line. So
Interesting.
Harrington, Preston, and Armstrong, that line has been so good the last 2 games. I mean, by far our best line. I think that's a line that I've noticed more than anybody else. I think the top line has really kind of been struggling a little bit without Catton up there.
Hmm.
Shea Van Olm has had a really rough go the last 3 or 4 games with
Hmm.
Catton being gone. It's like I've made that comment to you too, where it's like he's looking for Catton where Catton would usually be because he knows where
Right.
Catton would be, and Catton's not there. And
Yeah.
the person that's taking Catton's spot on that top line isn't in that spot either because Catton just sees the ice so much differently than everybody else. And
Yeah.
I think that him and Van Olm have built a really, really strong chemistry playing together on the same line all season. So, when Catton's gone, I think Van Olm's definitely struggling with that a little bit too.
And like the announcer said during the break, Catton's ability to go find the open ice and get himself open is better than so many people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's like I said, he sees the ice differently than most people, than
Yeah.
most players do, and so I don't expect this slump from this top line to stay. Once we get Catton back and stuff too, I'm sure it'll kind of pick right back up where it left off. But um, obviously, just a little bit of an adjustment period. Some guys are going
Hmm.
to have to step up in his place, and uh, I think they're doing a pretty good job of that. Now, going back to this game on Saturday, Chiefs had the 3-0 lead, and it looked like the better team through the first 40 minutes.
I was going to say the second period, they still look better.
Yeah, out shooting Wenatchee 10-4 in the second period. Going to the third period with a 3-0 lead, you're feeling pretty confident. And then, yeah, I first goal, whatever,
Yeah.
3-1, and then 30 seconds later they score another one on the power play after a pretty bad penalty taken. I don't remember
Yeah.
who it was, but it was an unnecessary penalty that didn't need to happen. And then, um, shit, a minute later, all of a sudden, just like that, it's a tied game.
That was a quick 3 goals.
Yeah, Wenatchee really turned it on. Whatever they talked about in that second intermission really kind of fired them up because they came out with a vengeance. Because like I said, this was all in the first 5 minutes of the third period, and then played the rest of the third period, and then Wenatchee's pressure just continues, and they scored the game-winning goal with about 3.5 minutes left in the
Yeah.
third period, and the Chiefs just were unable to tie it. A really brutal loss after such a good start to the game,
Hmm. That was a hard one. Yeah.
and it goes back to I think the one thing that I noticed the most was one unnecessary penalties that happen from guys not moving their feet, reaching, just taking stupid penalties after the play with roughing or whatever
Hmm.
too, uh, and the other thing is not clearing the puck out of your defensive zone. We really struggled with that the last 2 games. Even the game on Friday at home was not good with that. But and that's especially if this team comes out the way that Wenatchee did. You can't be just goofing around with the puck in your own zone.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to get that out, but it just wasn't in the cards.
No, it wasn't. Maybe Donnie knocked in the locker room in the intermission and said, "You know what? I'd like to beat these bastards one time this year. Can you guys go do that for me?" Because they definitely came out with much more intensity in the third period, and it jumped up
Well,
Chiefs right away.
yeah, Wenatchee was by far the better team in the third period, and
Yeah.
quite frankly, that's all they needed. They earned that win just based off of that third period. But
Hmm.
yeah, again, a brutal loss, but a good night for that Harrington Preston Armstrong
Yeah.
line. Chase Harrington with a goal and an assist, Mathis Preston with a goal and 2 assists. Coco Armstrong had an assist. Good to see the secondary scoring kind of getting in there with
Hmm.
Sarkey and Catton being gone. But again, just a tough loss and unnecessary penalties really kind of costing us right now. And just you wonder where they can build off of losing those games or that game and like how they're going to come out tomorrow against Tri-City because like we just touched on at the beginning of the show, it's like Tri-Cities has beaten us the last 2 times we played
Mm-hmm.
them too, and they've been the better team in both of those games.
Yes,
So
they have.
how are we going to come out after, a rough choke loss like that down
Ho-
in Tri-Cities on New
Hopefully, we're a
Year's
little
Eve?
salty.
Yeah, you would think that they'd be playing with a little bit more sandpaper going into
Yeah,
Tri-City and your arch rivals barn for
I hope so.
arguably one of the biggest, games of the year. It happens
Yeah.
every year. New Year's Eve game down in Tri-City. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm really looking forward to watching that game tomorrow night. I think Cowan will be in net. He'll play a good game. So it's just going to be on the forward group to kind of step up and put the puck in the back of the net. And
I think it's going to be on the defensive group to stop Tri-Cities myself.
well, that too. I mean, Tri-Cities is missing some guys right now too. So
Yeah.
you're gonna want to be able to capitalize on them not being a little bit shorthanded as well as much as we are. But
Yeah.
Saturday night, though, I will add, nice to see Dane Pyatt back in the lineup.
Yeah.
First game since the first game of the season for him after he had that. I don't remember, it was a leg injury of some sort, but he had been in a boot for a couple of months and first game in about 3 months. So it was good to see him out there. And honestly, I think he fit in pretty well on that fourth line.
Yeah. Yeah.
He looked good out there with Edwards and Gillespie. So
Nice
I
to
hope
see Edward play 2 games in a row as well.
Edwards actually kind of got into the action quite a bit.
Yeah.
Both games this weekend. It was nice to see him too. I still think that once we get our guys back, Sarky and Catton, I still think that there's either a trade or a release coming at some point for somebody. Um,
Who knows?
we'll have to wait and see. But like we talked about, I think this team has the potential to make a playoff push. I just think
Mm-hmm.
that they still need to add something.
Yeah.
And I don't know. What are your overall thoughts from, the highlights that you saw of the games this weekend?
Oh, disappointed in the effort on Friday for sure, especially at
Yeah.
home. But understandable too. We were concerned about it, and I think we were probably pretty accurate in our concerns, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it. But definitely like to start on Saturday, the first period. Just in the second period too, is the letdown on the third that just, I don't know.
Well, that's not something that we've seen from these guys.
Yeah.
The third period collapses after playing such a strong 40 minutes.
Yeah. I don't know. But again, learning experience, I guess, and you learn that you got to play all 60. And like you said, we'll see how they come out tomorrow night and see if they come out with sandpaper and look to make sure that doesn't happen again, at least for a while, or I don't know.
That is the one thing that I will say is that Friday night, even though we had a pretty lackluster effort all around, the physicality was there. Sage
Yeah.
was throwing the body, Mazer was throwing the body. I
Yeah.
mean, Smith Redmond laid a couple guys out. Coco Armstrong was the most physical player on the team that night, though. I mean, he pulled out the reverse check on a couple of guys a couple of different times and knocked them on their ass because they weren't expecting it. I like to see stuff like that. I like to see that from everybody out there, forwards and defense.
Yeah.
Didn't really come out with that on Saturday. I think once we got up 3-0, they're like, we don't really need to play physical. We've already got a good cushion here, and you saw
Right.
how quickly that dwindled away. But nonetheless, going 1-1 first games of the second half, we went 1-1 the first games in the first half of the season too. So,
Yeah. It would have been nice to see a little bit of that physicality in the third to slow Wenatchee down instead of letting them score 3 so quick. But
yeah,
I wish we could learn to turn that when we need to stop the other team from having their way or doing what they want to do, which something we started at the beginning of the year, the first handful of games, and we were so impressed with. And then ever since then, it hasn't really been there. It'd be nice to see that, all right, you know what? This team just scored on us. Now we're only up 3-1. Now let's go slow them down with some bodies. And we just haven't done that.
Yeah, no, we haven't. And we've seen, like you said, we see that when we play like that, we're a better team and we're going to win more
Yes, we
games
are.
when we play like that because teams are, we're going to be scaring these guys trying to get into the zone, at the blue line. Like Sage has been laying guys out. Mazer's been laying guys out playing the back on the blue line. But there's some games that they take those games off. It's just like we just get absolutely shelled.
Yeah.
So I agree. But, nonetheless, Chiefs still second place in the All Western Hockey League, 46 points with a 23-12-0 record. So still good stuff. I mean, we're at the halfway point of the season, halfway over. We got about a week and a half to the trade deadline.
Don't get us wrong. We're not trying to be critical here at all. We're very impressed where the Chiefs are at and stuff too. We're just as people that see them, and we just have the expectations of things that we've seen, and would like to see more consistency in that regard.
Yeah, I think consistency is the big thing, and I still think that we're 1 year early on our big playoff push. I think that comes next season.
Yeah, me too.
But this is obviously a huge step in the right direction this year with new coaching staff, new everything basically. Got a handful of these young studs coming in with Preston and Harris, and guys taking another big step up. And I think this is a great step in the right direction as opposed to what we had seen from this team in the last few years. But I still think we're a year away from making that big push. Who knows? Anything can happen in hockey. It's a pretty unpredictable sport.
Yeah,
But
just ask Latvia.
Yeah, no kidding, man.
No,
but yeah, no, I think overall we're in a good spot, and that brings me to the questions that I asked in the group today.
Oh, nice.
And I will start with a question that kind of ties into what we were talking, or what I was just mentioning with, adding a player.
Mm-hmm.
Our buddy Kent asks if we could pick one player in the WHL to trade for, who would it be and why? And my answer would be a defenseman, like I had been talking about. I'd love to see us pick up a guy like Sawyer Minio from Seattle, a guy that can put the puck in the back of the net, who can get the puck through from the blue line, who can quarterback the power play back there along with Catton. I think that having a guy like that playing on your blue line could be huge. I mean, he's a Ty Smith style player, and look at the success that Ty Smith had when he was with Spokane. And the success that the team had when Ty Smith was quarterbacking them down the blue line.
Right.
I think that the Chiefs have been missing that since Ty Smith left.
Agreed.
He moved on. I think if we could get somebody like that, this team would take a huge step forward.
Oh, yeah.
A gigantic step forward.
Definitely.
Because, our defense itself is good. Our, Sage, McIsaac, Mazer, all those, Shetler. I mean, those guys, we suck, for lack of a better term. We suck at getting the puck through to the net for the point. Yes. And it's something that we've harped on for the last couple of years. That's a thing that Ty Smith was an absolute genius at.
Yeah. Do you know who I think the best quarterback on the power play is? Defense? Shetler.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
He moves side to side very well. And even if everybody is still kind of staying stationary, he's not just standing there. He's moving himself side to side to give him more options and things too. And he's always looking to set up a guy. I think he's our best actual quarterback on the power play as far as defensive position.
Well, yeah, and even though the goal wasn't a power play goal on Friday night, but similar kind of thing with him running side to side up on the blue line right there, found that open lane to Harris down low.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that some of the other guys that we have
by moving. Yes.
Yeah, and that's something that the other guys on our blue line haven't been able to do. And I've been really impressed with him, and I'd like to see him be like the number one defenseman on the number one power play unit.
No, we have other guys that play that position at the top well on the power play, but as far as moving to create options, he's the best one that we have, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt.
He's not afraid to skate with the puck and move instead of forcing a pass somewhere where maybe it's not there. He makes sure he skates to an area where he can make a pass.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
So my answer to that question would be Sawyer Minio or like a Tanner Molendyke potentially too.
I saw that too. Those are guys that are pretty high on the list.
Yeah, I mean,
I have one here that I looked up, and this guy actually impressed me. Leslie Masden from Vancouver.
Oh, Masden Leslie.
Yeah, or Masden Leslie, excuse me.
Yeah.
He would be a good one in my opinion. Right-handed defenseman. He's played 31 games. He's got 30 points. He's got 7 goals and 23 assists this year. But a 19-year-old that's got 4 years in the dub already and stuff. So he's been on decent teams. Got a lot of experience. Could bring some leadership there too. But definitely an assist and a setup guy, but also can score. That would be
Okay.
my pick. That would be my pick.
I think that's a good pick. Yeah, he's a guy that, when we're playing Vancouver, that's a guy that you definitely notice out there, and
Yep.
his name you hear quite a bit.
Yep.
I think the only thing that would have to be with if we were to we have to put together a big package for a guy like that.
I agree.
And mainly because Vancouver is not a necessarily rebuilding team right
Correct.
now. So I
Correct.
think that you'd have to have something substantial for this year and the next couple of years in return.
Mhm.
But I think that, if you have the assets to make that happen, I don't see why you
Why
wouldn't
wouldn't you?
give it a go,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that obviously Matt Bardsley's a smart guy. He's a smart general manager and he's really good at what he does. So
He's very savvy. Yes.
he sees the same issues that we're seeing, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure
And
he does.
I'm sure that he knows that we need a guy like that. And
Yeah.
so I wouldn't be surprised within the next 2 weeks if we go out and make a trade for a player of that caliber, a
Yeah.
defenseman like that. I think that's a great pick. That's a
Yeah.
good name that I hadn't heard. But yeah, I the reason I brought up Tanner Mollendijk was just because that apparently there's a rumor going around that Tri-Cities is going to be making a push for him. And quite frankly, I think that would be a mistake on their part.
Yeah.
I think Tri-Cities is still a year or two behind their big push
Yes.
too. And I think while they had that 12-game winning streak and they've had some success this season that they haven't seen in a long time. And Bob Torrey is a great general manager and he's
Hmm.
a smart guy too, but I think that he has the tendency to jump the gun a little bit.
Hmm.
We saw that, a handful of years ago when they made that trade at the deadline for Jake Bean from
Yeah.
Calgary.
It
They
never. Yeah.
traded quite a bit. They had Jake Bean for half a season, then he went to the AHL and then
Yeah.
Tri-City got eliminated in the first round.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if you're a Tri-City fan, you don't want that.
I agree, but I also feel like kind of like you just said, to touch on it a little bit too. Unlike Wenatchee, when they traded away everybody to build for the future, and I personally had an issue with that because I thought, you're good now with all this talent. Why don't you just make a run for it now? Why are you building for the future when you can actually maybe do something this year? I feel like that's what Tri-Cities does. I think they kind of surprised themselves so far this year a little bit. And I think maybe the way Tory thinks and stuff to us, like, well, let's go for it this year. Let's see how far we can go. So I could see them actually trying to do that.
Yeah, I get that too, but at the same time, it's like, you have the guys that they have this year, they're 20-year-olds. They have like Jake Sloan
Mm-hmm.
and, guys like I can't remember who the other 20s are, but Jake Sloan's a big one. Goldsmith, the
Mm-hmm.
defenseman, that's another guy that I would love to have in Spokane is a
Mm-hmm.
player like Tyrell Goldsmith, just a big, mean,
Mm-hmm.
tall, just gritty defenseman
Yeah.
who will throw down, drop the gloves, throw big hits, can still put the puck in the net too. Um, but that's beside the point. Yeah, I see what you're saying, and I think that with Wenatchee, that was a little bit of a different situation because when Winnipeg got sold, they knew that they were going to get sold, and
Right.
their general manager at the time just kind of fire sailed off all their draft picks and pretty
Yeah.
much gave away. So when they moved to Wenatchee, they had like no draft picks, and
But
so
they were
they
so good,
had to.
so much talent. I still thought, why not just see how far you can go with these guys?
Yeah, and obviously that's a having Connor Geeky and Matt
Exactly.
Savoy
That's what
and
I mean.
stuff
Yeah.
too. It's like, yeah, I mean, man, they were good too. They were
Yes.
really, really good when they had those guys. But then as soon as they traded away, they kind of slowly started to fall off, and you could tell that something was just not right within their team. But I think in the long run, we saw glimpses of it on Saturday night in Wenatchee. They're going to be good. They're going to
Yeah.
be good in a couple
No,
years.
no, in hindsight at the time, but at the time I thought, God, they're so good with these guys right now. Why not just run with it and see how far you can go? But yes, you also new team in a new town. You do want to build for a future too. I get that. It's kind of the chicken or the egg thing. It's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a shitty situation for
Yeah.
Bliss Littler to be put in, but I think that overall that it's been handled very well. But
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. But yeah, that was the only reason I brought up Tanner Mollendijk was because I saw
Yeah.
that rumor about him going to Tri City, which if it happens, it happens. But
Yeah.
so to answer your question, Kent, mine would be Sawyer Minio. Yours would be Madsen Leslie. So
Yeah.
both defensemen. I think we can kind of all agree that we're in need of a defenseman.
A quarterback defenseman on the power play.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Here's another interesting kind of ties in a little bit, and I'll give my or I'll let you give your answer, and then I'll give my answer afterward.
Okay.
Would Andrew Cristall be worth what we might have to give up to get him? Would any top player be worth the trade?
No,
And
I
why?
don't. No, I don't see that. I just don't see. We'd have to give up too much to get him, and we'd have to give up what we have now building for the future and stuff too. It's not like you're just giving away draft picks down the road or anything. We'd have to give up something now too. And we've talked about this in previous podcasts. I like where this team is at personnel wise. Yeah.
Yeah, I think offensively we're fine. I don't think we need to add any more forwards, to be completely honest. I think what Bardsley's done with adding guys like Smith Redmond and Samuel Remba, and last year at the deadline picking up Shea Van Olm, I think that we're pretty set offensively. I still think that, like I said, defense is something that we need to focus on and address first.
Yeah.
Um,
But to the second
Obviously,
half of that question, a top player, if it's a defenseman, absolutely.
100%. I think it's absolutely worth it. If we have the draft picks, we have the draft or the young prospects,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a couple of guys that you could throw into a trade package too that can benefit that team that we
Mm-hmm.
trade with immediately. So I think that if we were to give up a ton, it would have to be for a defenseman though. Like I
Yeah.
said, like a 18, 19-year-old veteran defenseman.
Yeah.
I don't think we need any help offensively. I would love to have Andrew Cristall on our team. I hate the
Yeah.
guy. I hate playing against the guy because he's good.
Yes.
But I don't think that would be something that they should be looking at right now.
Oh,
And plus, like we've been talking about, it's like we need to get an 18 or a 19-year-old that's gonna be here for the rest of this year and for next year. Andrew Cristall is gonna be in the AHL next year.
yes.
There's no doubt about that. He's not going
Yep.
to be back with Kelowna or whatever WHL team he gets traded to at the deadline.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be kind of a waste.
Me too.
I understand the thought behind
Oh
picking
yeah.
up a guy like him for sure, but again, we're pretty much set offensively. We have four lines that can put the puck in the net and that skate hard night in and night out.
Yeah. And as we just talked about with Team Canada and the World Juniors and stuff too, all of a sudden you get a bunch of these guys on a team and you get a bunch of very high skilled individuals and they don't end up gelling as a team and things too. I like the chemistry of our team right now.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think you throw in another superstar, I think it potentially disrupts that.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like kind of where our forward group is right now,
Yeah.
and I don't think it's worth adding another 50 goal scorer in there to kind of disrupt that. Like you said, I agree.
Yeah.
So there's that question. Let's see here. Are there any realistic college committed players that the Chiefs might sign in their protected list? So
I'm not, you know more about that than I do.
yeah, I mean, I don't know a ton about it either. It's like I know there's a handful of guys that showed up to a year or two of our training camp and then decided to commit to a NCAA university before the rule changed and stuff too. And we're seeing a lot of players making
Mm-hmm.
the switch over to major junior from BCHL and everything. There's a handful of Chiefs prospects that were pretty highly touted that came to our camps and stuff that are playing in the BCHL right now. I haven't heard anything on any of those guys, potentially making the switch. And I almost feel like that could be another thing where Bardsley is afraid to kind of disrupt the forward momentum that we have. I mean, we have a couple of D-men too that
Mm-hmm.
I think we could benefit from having. But again, I haven't heard anything.
I
I
haven't either.
mean, yeah, I mean, it's still a new thing with the rule change. So you never know what could happen in the next couple of months. But I wouldn't be surprised to see us kind of wait until the off season to
Mm-hmm.
kind of, potentially make a move to sign those guys and kind of throw them in and find where they fit in.
Test the waters on it a little bit then. Yeah.
Yeah, I almost feel like I'd rather not add those guys mid-season.
Yeah.
Getting them used to the hectic travel schedule and all that stuff too, moving into a new city and doing all that stuff. I mean, obviously that's going to happen with players traded within the league too, but I think if you're not used to that stuff, that could be really, really hard and really kind of hinder your game too. So I don't think that that's something that we need to necessarily focus on either, but who knows? Anything can happen. Like I said, I just haven't heard anything about it.
Yeah, I hadn't either.
And then let's see. That's kind of a question, similar question one we already touched on, but I'll read it anyway. Said, I know you've talked about it a bit, but do you think the Chiefs should make a big trade to try to make a run this year, or do they need to wait until next year? And if making a big trade, what do they really need?
We've
Same kind of thing. We already touched on that.
yeah,
We need a defenseman, straight up. And I think that if you could make the trade this year and make it a guy that
can
you can have
benefit you next year too.
next
Yeah,
year too. Yeah, absolutely. Shea Van Holm was a perfect example of that.
yeah, exactly.
So if you pick up a guy, another guy like that, but on the back end,
Oh
perfect.
yeah.
If you were giving out yearbook styles superlatives, however you say that,
You said it right.
for the players, what would they be? That's a good question.
That is a good question.
And something that I need to think about before I give my answer.
Yeah, me too.
Man, I haven't looked at a yearbook in a long time either. So
I don't either. Most likely to
oh God.
most likely to shoot it into a shin. Most likely to
People will know who that is.
most likely to take a penalty in an inopportune time. Sarkanoff. Much as we love you.
Oh man.
We
Yeah.
might have to think about that one and do that in a future podcast because I can't really come up with anything right now. I don't know if I'm in post-Christmas brain fog or what.
Yeah, my brain is. I mean, I had my first Monday off in a couple of weeks today, so I did a whole lot of nothing
Yeah.
other than go to the casino
I
and
like
rot
that
my
question.
brain today. So
I like that question though.
I do too. That's going to be up to, I'm going to have to ask some other people for their
Yeah.
opinions on that one too.
So let's come back to that one in a future podcast for
I
sure.
like that one. And then the last question I have here is: you could hang out with one chief for a day. Who would it be and why? I got my answer. I would go Shea Van Olm just
I was
because
just going to say that because the guy seems like a character.
dude is an
He reminds me a little bit of a Luke Smith.
yeah.
It just seems like a character because I got to hang out with him at the golf course one day when he forgot his jacket in the cart, and I went down and found it down in the cart, and he went down with me, and I was bitching to him about how the front office was closing off the upper level for the playoffs and just doing the lower level and all that stuff too. And he felt bad and was telling me that it's not any louder when fans are down low. It's actually louder when people are up above because their voices go over the top of the glass and stuff. And he felt bad, and he had some tickets waiting for us for the playoff game down at the arena.
That's right.
I got to hang out with him for a little bit, and he was a crack up. So I feel like Shea's kind of similar to that too, where he's just enough of a character. I think it would be fun. They're probably all characters, honestly. He lets it out in the post game interviews and with Boiler and things too, and not everybody else necessarily does that.
Yeah, I really like that about that's the one thing that kind of made me pick him is his post game interviews with Boiler are always just got me hollering in the car.
And the fact that Boiler has told us that Sage always is like, hey, do you need me in the interview and stuff too? He's probably a character too.
I think those two would be fun to hang out with for sure.
We definitely need to try to get them on the podcast for sure because I think it'd be fun.
I think I'd hang out with Shea for sure just because he could teach me a thing or two on how to get better at Chell because he kicks my ass every time I play him.
Are you playing in Hut?
Yeah, an ultimate team. He kicks my ass every time.
That's funny. Yeah, get him to show you some moves.
Yeah,
so
no
I think that'd be a good one. But you know what? Any of these guys would probably be fun. I'd love to pick the brains of the younger kids, just see what their thoughts are on life and stuff too, not just necessarily hockey things or anything. I just what they think of Spokane, what they think of, playing in the Western Hockey League. Just I think it'd be fun to take a bus trip with them somewhere to their next away game or something too, and just BS with the guys on the bus, any of them.
And that's what I think is really cool. When we had Boiler on, he was talking about that a little bit too. Like he gets the chance to do that kind of stuff and talk to these guys about just whatever, even if it's hockey related or not. He gets to do that every game.
Yeah.
So I think that would be awesome to do. I agree completely.
Too.
And maybe give you a little bit more insight on how the game is played and stuff that they do and see that us as fans don't see. I think that'd be fun and that'd be a real thrill for sure.
Yeah,
I'd love to hang out with Bert too. I think Catton would be a great guy to hang out with. He
I have a
seems
feeling
like
he's probably really funny. He's just quiet.
yeah, he seems like he's just a really good guy overall
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
So yeah, if I had to pick though, I'd probably say Shea just based off of
yeah. Same for me.
his characteristics.
Same for me.
That's all I have question wise.
Well, good questions this week, guys,
Yeah, very, very good.
and girls.
And girls, all of you.
Yes.
I kind of like doing that little segment that we started doing. I think it's a good touch.
Yeah, I do too.
Um, so did you want to add anything else? Do you have anything else to add or?
No, I'm looking forward to tomorrow night's game to end the year.
Yeah, me too. I'm hoping that we have a strong start to the second half here.
Yeah.
And hopefully come out with a big dub to end 2024 tomorrow. I think happy bus ride home would be good for these guys to celebrate the new year. I mean, we saw how it was last year. We won 10-3 last year down at that game. So
yeah,
fingers crossed, eh?
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
One more thing I want to add.
Yes.
I was thinking last week after we aired our grievances.
Yes.
I was thinking of a couple more throughout the week. We've kind of thought of a couple. Do you have one too?
I don't know. We talked a little bit, but now I can't remember what we talked about.
And I will say that it has been a little bit better this year, not completely, but it has been better.
I know where you're going with this.
They've switched it up a little bit.
Yes,
and
they
I know
have.
this isn't necessarily something that they can just kind of switch. I'm sure they'd have to do like review on it and everything too, but change the damn music played
Yes,
in the arena.
please.
It has been the same 30 songs over and over again for the last 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
I like what they've done this year where they play like that generic hockey hype song when they do the starting lineups now.
Mm-hmm.
I like that as opposed to, the generic drum and bass music that they were
Right.
doing for years before. We go back to playing Kerncraft 400 at the first whistle of every game.
Yeah.
I don't mind, when we give up a goal playing like A Hard Day's Night by the Beatles. That's fine.
Yeah. Yes.
Or whatever. Give us something else late in the third period other
When you
than
need to push.
Cotton Eye, or not Cotton Eye Joe, Jesus. Sweet Caroline.
Yes, please.
That makes that song, I hate it. I cannot stand that song.
And to be fair, we've talked about this. We've talked about this with many, many other fans too. It's a very good crowd participation song, but it can't do anything to pump up the boys.
Especially late in the third period. If we're down by a goal with, 6 minutes left in the final media timeout, play We Will Rock You or Thunderstruck or
I have two choices that are options for me. Eye of the Tiger. Perfect. And this is one that we used to play way back when. Don't Stop Believing.
Why not? I like that one too.
Yeah, those are two options. And if anybody out there is curious, Elliot here had actually last year created a new playlist and when to play certain songs at different times of the games. And it's in a notes app on his iPhone. So if anybody would like to see it, he could probably post it out there.
I sure can. I still have that. I remember it was early in the year last year. I just got fed up with Sweet Caroline. It was I think we played 3 home games in 4 nights or whatever. Just heard it every game. And I'm just like, I want to freaking punch myself in the face because.
So here's my goal for this year. I just thought of it just now. When Jay Stewart and his men's league team on Wednesday nights comes out to play and he's on the first tee about to tee off, I'm going to play Sweet Caroline over the intercom to him on the first tee and say, hey, Jay, does that get you fired up for your round of golf? Because I got to believe it doesn't.
Please do that.
I just thought about this.
Please do that.
I just thought about this.
God, that would be so funny.
Yeah. I'll have you down when I do it.
Oh, that would be so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's another guy I actually would like to talk to on the podcast, too. I think
I would love to get Jay on the podcast. He would probably do it, honestly.
Yeah, I'm sure he would. So that's something we'll have to touch on, too. I've been talking to a couple of former players and stuff that we can potentially set something up with here in the next couple of weeks as well. So
good.
So some fun stuff ahead. End of the year, big game tomorrow night, and hopefully end the year right, eh?
That'd be good.
All right. Well,
go Chiefs. Go
Till-
Chiefs, go.
Until next year. Go
Until
Chiefs,
next
go.
year.